Welcome to part 3 of PHP database application using AJAX. In the previous video, that is part 2, we saw how we can integrate our Bootstrap admin template within our application, and it was so nice. So today I'm going to show you how to use AJAX within your application for you to allow the user to post and retrieve data to the database without actually having to reload the form. So this is the structure of our form as it or page as it was. And go back to the browser and see. So this is where we were in part 2. We will continue to add more features in part 3, especially with specific focus to AJAX. So let us go back to our Sublime text. So what you have to do is for us now to post data from the form using AJAX as opposed to the conventional or the default way of posting, that is through the form method and form action. So we'll create a new folder within dev called already we have JS, so there's no need of us creating a new folder. So within this JS folder, we are going to create a script, that is JavaScript, that will allow us to post data from the form. So the name will be post test.js, that is JavaScript. So in this form, since we have placed the button within the form as it is here, by default, whenever we click the submit button, the default action is for it to submit. But we want to prevent this default action such that before it submits, like once we click the button before it submits, we can redirect to AJAX or to JavaScript, then check to see if data is okay, or make some few that validation checks before we can proceed with posting our data. So in this post test.js, we are going to call this function. So we first want to get the form name. So we call the form by ID. So this is the jQuery selector. Then hash means ID. So we go back to our form and check the ID. The ID is test form. So we write test form. So we want to call on submit function. So what happens when this form is submitted? We create a function with a variable e. Then we can now write our code within this. So test form dot on submit function e. So we call e dot prevent default. E dot prevent default means this one or this option is preventing the form from performing the default action, which is submitting when you click on the submit button. So let us just write this. We want to see if this code is working. So let us just write an alert. Then just say yes. We want to see if it is working. So save. Then we can go back to our code and refresh. Then now we can see if it is working. But before that, we haven't added our JavaScript to the header, not header but footer. So we have to include this JavaScript within the footer. So we write script source equals to. Then remember our JavaScript file is within JS and we are in test. So we go back one step, then to JS, then we can write post test dot JS. So that's how we get to our script. So we close the script like that and save. So we can now go back to our application within the browser, then reload, then try to post and see if it will perform the default action or not. So this is test, say, then as you can see, it's not performing the default action. It is now loading, yes. So that means we can proceed with our code. Where is it? Post test.js. So the next thing we are going to do is to create a variable called data. Then we will assign it to the form data. So we create a variable called data equals to, then we call the form name. Let me just copy this. We are going to use the same. So use the jQuery selector, the form ID, then dot serialize. So what this function does, the serialize function, is that it picks the values of all the controls within the form based on the name. So it is using the name to pick the values. So just do var data equals to test form.serialize. Then after that, we want to call AJAX. So we do AJAX. This is how we call AJAX. Then we can now write type. So this is the format of AJAX. So type is post. We are telling it to post. Then URL is, now since we are within test, and our URL, our PHP code that is going to process this particular form input is within test. So that means we go back one step, find test, then we call post test.php like that, comma, then data is our data that is here. Then if the post is successful, we create a function, then we pass a variable called result. So we will check, we'll do this, but before we do this, I want us to go to the post test.php file. So as you can see, what we are doing here is that we are doing an echo, that is printing the messages to the user. But in this case, we don't want to do this. So we will first create a global variable. We create a global variable. This is how you create a global variable in PHP. Create a global variable, and call it result. Then initially it is empty. So if we realize here that the record exists, You don't have to return the whole of this string, so just return exists like that. But now it is not an echo, but instead we are assigning it to the global variable result. So just say result equals to exists. Then if the record has been successfully sent, then we assign the global variable to success. So we assign the global variable. Let us copy this from here. So we assign the global variable to success like that. So once all this has been done, we need to return a string back to jQuery or a result, a JSON. So we just do an echo JSON encode, then we pass the value of the global variable, within this particular JSON. So let us see what happens if we now try to echo within this JSON, not within this AJAX. If we just try to echo the result, let us try to echo the result on posting, not echo but alert in this case. So we just want to see which result it will be showing to us. So let us refresh here and try to do a post. This is test. So we submit. As you can see, it is now showing us success. So after getting these results, we now want to display this to the user. As you can see, the result has now this one is showing exists because we've already posted this. So as you can see, it is showing in double quotes. We need to remove the double quotes. So what we are going to do is we are first going to use the replace function. So result.replace. Then you can try to use a regular expression. So we are going to look for the appearance of any double quotes. We are going to check for the appearance of double quotes, any double quotes in the entire string, then replace it with a single quotes. So this is what this regular expression will do. So let us try to post again and see. But do we have an alert? Oh, we don't have an alert. So let us just do an alert of the result and see what it will show us. So we can now refresh, then we do another post and see. As you can see, it's now showing exists without the quotes, which is okay. So the next thing we are going to do is to check the type of result returned. So we shall say if result equals to exists, then we do an alert to the user to tell them that sorry, this record already exists, like that. Then we do an else if result equals to success, then we do another alert to the user to tell them that the record has been successfully saved. Then if in case we get any other response that is not among these, then we can just do an unknown error occurred. So if the record is successfully posted, or before we do that, let us just check how this one will work. So we can do another record. This is tests, then submit. As you can see, it is now giving us a message, sorry, the record already exists. And if we do another record, say try, or another post called try this one, for example, as you can see, it's telling us the record has been successfully saved, which is okay. Now, once we post the record and it's successfully posted, we want to clear this form, then add the record to this table real time. So this is what we are going to do. Once we get record already, record successfully posted message, we will clear our form. So test form. So we will do a test form 0.reset. Then we will refresh the table. So we do test table dot load. This is how we refresh the table. Location dot href. Then we call the same test table. This is how we refresh our table. So let us see if this code will be able to work for us or not. So we go back to our code. We try to add another record. Say just say we want to add this record. So as you can see, we now have 4 records added to the table. So let us see what happens if we add this one. Shall we have 5 records here without refreshing? Because remember, I told you AJAX helps us to post and retrieve data without refreshing. So record successfully posted. As you can see, the form has been cleared, and then the record has been added to our table. So this one looks interesting. Because as you can see, we are posting data without refreshing, which makes the user's work easier, and also it's more appealing to the eye than the traditional PHP. So we can now post our data, we can add it to the table real time. The next thing that I want us to do is to be able to edit and delete records. I want us to create a code that will enable us to edit and delete these records. So we can go back. To our code. So as you can see here, we have delete, edit, and delete buttons. So I want us to start with delete first, then we will go to edit. I want us to start with delete, then we go to edit. So this is what we want to achieve, or this is what we want to happen. So when the user clicks on edit or delete, there's a pop-up or model window that will show, that will ask the user to either allow the edit or cancel the edit or delete action. So that one takes us to another item or feature which we are calling the model form, which is also available in our template. So we can check our template under elements, I think. Under elements, it is here. It is here under elements. So this is how it will appear. So we want to use the alert model. So just go to view page source, then we'll find these different models within our source. So we want to find different models. It is here. So what we want to do is to get the one for alerts, the alert model. It is here. Alert model is here. So we can copy this. And place it within our application. Just trying to organize it well so that it is properly intended. So this one will come here. And to move it here like that. So which means these ones will come within this like that. Okay, so this is our model form. We want to call it edit model. Mod edit like that. Then here we just say edit record, then we put question mark like that. Then we ask the user, are you sure you want to edit this record, question mark. So here we say yes, and here it is no, like that. So yes and no, that is mod edit. So we can also change here edit model, and this is where it ends, edit model. Then we can copy this and use it for the delete model. Can use it for the delete model. So here we are just going to change to mod delete. Then we ask the user, delete record, are you sure you want to delete this record? So remember, in our buttons here, in our buttons here, we have the jQuery function. Like here, it is request delete. Then we have request edit here. So we have to create these functions within our JavaScript. So request edit, we can call request edit here. So just write function request edit. Then because we are passing this, like when you check here, you see we are using this function. So as I said, this can be used to get any property of this particular button, be it the type, class, the ID, and so on. So we can also pass a variable here. You can just call it ID. Then we open. So before that, I want us to create here a variable called two variables. We have edit ID. Initially, they are empty. Then var del ID is also empty. So what we are going to do here, we want to get the ID that was passed through this particular function using this. So we will now assign edit ID equals to, we now want to get the variable that was passed. So we want to pick the ID, then we find the attribute ID, like that. We want to find the ID attribute of this particular button. We want to find the ID attribute of this particular button. So once we get the ID attribute of this button, we want to call the edit model. So edit model is here, mod edit. So I want to call the edit model. So we do a jQuery select, then just write dot model, like that. Then we also want to do a request delete. So we just copy request delete. Then now this one becomes del ID. We still get the attribute ID. Then we can now call mod delete dot model, like that. So let us go back to our application and refresh, then see what happens. So let us click on edit and see. As you can see, it is now showing us, are you sure you want to edit this record? Let us try delete. Are you sure you want to delete this record? So our model form is working, but I want to reverse these buttons, because by default we cannot put yes on the right, because if we put yes on the right, the user can easily make a mistake. This is the first button that the user will see. So we need to put yes on the left so that the user can be able to at least understand what the button is doing before, or they'll take some time before they can click on yes. So I'm going to reverse these two buttons here. I'm going to reverse these two buttons. So this one will now be the first one here. Then this one also becomes the first one here. So let us refresh, then save, then refresh here, then see what happens. As you can see, now yes is on the left and no is on the right, which is okay. So the next thing we are going to do is, once we click on yes, then we have to perform an action, which I'll show you how to do. But before that, I want us to do delete, because delete is short. Then we will finish with edit. So when you click on delete, then click yes. We are going to create here within the delete record model. We are going to create here a variable, or not a variable, but a field. We are going to create a field, so which will be within a form. So we create a form ID equals to delete form. Just call it delete form. So after the button, we now close the form like that. So we can push these ones inside a bit. So I'm going to create a hidden field. Input type equals to hidden. Then ID, not ID, we just want the name, equals to delete. Just say rec delete. That will be the ID of this particular hidden field, rec delete. So we want to change this yes button to type. Submit. We want to submit this record within the form. So this is what we are going to do. First, we have to set the value of this particular field. We have to set the value of this particular field. So we go back to a post test. So before we can show the model, the first thing we are going to do is to get this field. We shall also give it an ID for us to get it easily. So we just give it the same ID. Then we will set the value here. So we do a jQuery select, then the delete dot value will be the value of del ID. So we are going to set the value of this field, hidden field, to the rec ID value that will be sent. So after that, we can now submit the form. So the form is here, the name is delete form. So we can come back here and do a jQuery select again of the form, delete form dot on submit. We are also checking the submit function. Then we create a function e. Then we do an e dot prevent default like that. After doing that, we want to create a variable data equals to, now we get the delete form data. Then we serialize like that. Then we do an AJAX call. We do an AJAX call like that. Type is post as usual. Post. You are not encouraged to use get, because get exposes your code to hackers. So that's why it's not recommended. Then URL, we are still using this URL. So let me just copy it from here. Then I paste it here. So we are still using this URL like that. Then data is data. then success, we create a function with variable result. Result is a variable, so you can write any name there. Not a must that you use result. So we will do an if, but before we do this, we can go to our code, to our PHP code here, and write a code for deleting the record. So we will do this. We will do if is set post. So what are we posting from this? Remember, we are serializing the form, and the form has rec delete as the name. So this is what will be serialized and sent to PHP. So we want to see if this one is set. If it has a record, then we will create a query. SQL equals to update. Do an update of the test table set deleted equals to true, where id equals to, then we can write this id, whatever was sent from the post, like that. So where id equals to that. Then after doing that, we create a query. Equals to mysqli query. Then we call the connection and also call the query. Then so just don't need to do this, just do an if. So if mysqli query this, so that means if it is successful, then remember our global variable, this is our global variable, will be success, just like that. Then after that, we can return a JSON encode of our global variable. So I'm just copying and pasting it there like that, so we can save it. So that means if the result is success, we can now come back to our JavaScript and say if result equals to success, then we can post an alert to tell the user that the record successfully deleted. That else, we can tell the user unknown in an alert, unknown error occurred, like that. So if the record was successfully deleted, I just want to copy this refresh table code that we had already written. So we will put it here if it is successfully deleted. Then remember our code, our result comes enclosed in double quotes, but you don't want it to have double quotes. So we'll still do a replace, result.replace, then we do a regular expression that matches all double quotes, then replace it with single quotes before we can now check for the type of result returned, like that. So after doing this, we'll be able to delete our record. And once we do that, we can now delete this. Let us rec delete is where can go back to our post test.php. So after successfully deleting, we can now clear the field, the rec delete field. This is the field that I'm referring to. So we clear the value of this field so that it is now empty. So do rec delete dot value, or we can just reset the entire tab, the entire form instead of doing this. So you can do this, 0 dot reset, like that. Then we can save our form and try it. Let us refresh and see. We want to delete this record number 4. Try this one. So try to delete. It is not showing. Let us inspect the code and see. So just right click and inspect, then see where the error is coming from. It is telling us request delete is not defined at HTML button element dot on click. Request delete is not defined in button element dot on click. So let us come back here and see why it is telling us that. So in our index.php page, this is where we set. So request delete on click is here. And in our post test PHP code, it is still here. So sometimes these errors occur due to caching. So whenever you realize that your code is okay and is not working, then you may need to clear the cache. But before that, there is this error here, unexpected token at posttest.js line 45, posttest.js line 45. Oh yes, so this one here is supposed to have an opening curly brace, like that. Then here we are going to close it like that. So oh, it is okay, it's okay. So the only thing that I had not done was to close the bracket here, then put the semicolon, which is optional. So let us refresh our code and see our page and see. So we want to delete record 4. Try this one, delete. So we ask, are you sure you want to delete? Let us click yes and see. So a known error occurred. We will see what happened. So first, I want us to do this. Once we click on delete and we click yes, we want the model to disappear. So I will do this. Once I click on yes, So let us just say once we launch this, we want the model to disappear. No longer want to see the model. So let us copy this. Then within this, we will write hide to hide the model. So let us try again and see. So as you can see, the model is disappearing, but still we are getting an unknown error occurred. So we can go back to our post test and see. So let us do this. Before we can continue, let us do the edit post first, the edit record first. So for us to do the edit record, I want us to add two more buttons here. So the first one is submit, is a button, that. Second one will be edit. Then last button will be delete. So I want to change the type of the delete button to just button. Not delete, actually, it is undo edit. That. So we can remove the float right property from these buttons. First, we will see how they appear, then we will continue with the adjustments. So they are not appearing properly. Let us just return the float right property, then refresh. So as you can see, they are now appearing properly. We have undo edit, edit, then submit. So we want to add a function here on undo edit, on click and on click function equals to undo edit. So we will write this function within JavaScript. Then the edit function will be done, or will be used the same way the submit function will be used. That is to submit the edited record. So I want us to create another ID like the one we created within delete, another form that is within edit. So let us just do a form tag, form ID equals to edit form, like that. Then we can close it here, like that. So we want to create another hidden field within this form, and input type is equals to hidden, then ID equals to, now it will be rec edit, like that. Now this is what will happen when we click on this is what will happen when we click on delete, or this is what we want us to happen. So when you click on edit, then you click, we get this model and click yes. We want to attach a function to this yes that will allow us to now go to or call the edit function or request edit function. Of course, we have request edit. So we will call the allow edit function. So within this button, we just do this. So once we click on yes, we will create a function on not on about on click equals to allow edit. We create an allow edit function within JavaScript that we will be calling. Then we create another hidden field here within this particular form. Then we call it input type equals to hidden and ID equals to main ID. Let us just call it main ID like that. Then save. So this is what will be happening. This is what will be happening. So when we click on edit, then yes, it will call the allow edit function. So we create allow edit function within JavaScript, within our JavaScript, allow edit. So before we create the allow edit function, we have to pass the ID that was found here, that was passed through this to the variable or to the hidden field. So this is rec edit. Then we pass the edit ID within this like that. Then we create an allow edit function. We create an allow edit function. So function allow edit. Function allow edit. I want us to go back to this. Then we are going to set some other thing here within this edit model form. Now allow edit no longer becomes but type button, but it becomes submit. Now there's no need of having this function actually, because we will use on submit form.onSubmit function. So come back here, and instead of doing this, we now call the name of this form is edit form. So we will call edit form, then dot on submit. We create a function, then e is still a variable, you can use any, so it's not a must that you use e. Then here we do e dot and prevent default like that. Then we serialize this form dot serialize like that. Then we call AJAX, then within the AJAX type is posts as usual. Then URL, want us to use the same URL here, and let us copy up to here. Let us copy up to there. Then that one closes there. So we now go back to our PHP. PHP is here. So this is what we will do. We will use if functions to check which variable is set. So the first one is for us to check if is set. So when you come here, we have created this variable here. This one, main ID, is the one that we'll be using to check. No, we will not use the ID but the name. Name equals to main ID, like that. So the first one is for us to check if this field is set. So we come here and check if it is set. Post main ID. So if this is set, then automatically name will be set. So this one does the original function that we had created it for. Then we do an else here. An else. So this else can be closed here. This else can be closed here. So the next thing we are going to do is to check if, let me just copy this to make the work easier. So the next thing we are going to check is to see if rec edit has been set. Then if it has been set, then we will continue. So rec edit, then else we can let us indent this one properly for us to make our work easier. So that one goes there like that. This one comes here, so we can put it there. So if we set post rec edit, we are passing this variable here. We are passing this variable here. It is called rec edit. So this is what we are passing. And remember, while we were requesting for edit, we passed this the value of the ID to this variable. So currently it has the ID of the selected record, or the record which we want to edit. So we can do an SQL. SQL equals to delete all from test table where ID equals to, so we want to pass this here. So where ID equals to that, like that, then we check if my SQLi query, then con, then SQL. So if that query is successfully executed, then we create a global variable with the value. No, we are not deleting. This is for editing. So we want to select, sorry for that, select all from test table where ID equals to post that. So if my SQLi So let us just say that is my SQLi. Yes, so if my SQLi query con SQL, then we also do a while, or say if my SQLi do an MySQLi num rows, not num rows, we'll do row. If row equals to MySQLi fetch a sock in brackets, the query. So we will do here query equals to that, or we can do away with if, so that you can just do this. So we've done away with if. Then here we can use while row equals to my SQLi fetch ASOC, then query. Then we can open then result. This is how our result will be. It will not be success in this case. So we want to return a result that has the F name, M name, and middle name. Because once we click on edit, we want this to happen. Once we click on edit and click yes, we want to load this record into the form before editing. So this is what we will do. We want to return a string that has the first name, then it has the middle name, so we can put comma, so we are calling specific field names, that, then row last name, like that. So we want to return a string that has this. Then so once we do that, we can return the JSON. Let's just copy this. We can return the JSON string like that. Then apart from that, so there was this main ID that we were checking in the if statement. If it is set, this is what we will do. But remember, this main ID will be set on edit or on update. So initially it will not be set. So this is what we will do when we put exclamation. It means it is not set. So we will put another else here. We will put an else here. Put an else here. Then we now get when it is set. So this one by default will do the ordinary post. Then this one will work when it is when the ID is set, that means on edit. When you want to edit, we will pass the ID. So we check if it is set first before we can continue. So this one is else, like that. So this if is intended a bit like that. Then this else moves inwards. So let me just do this. So the else moves inwards like that. Then we can close here. So that is how it is. So we just want to indent this to ensure that it is appearing properly. So this one is here. This one we have to move back by one step like that. Then this one moves there, and then we have another S. I think so this one we move inside again a bit like that. It is not okay. We will just reorganize, no problem. It has removed the whole of this, then we will return it like that. So this one ends here. So this one comes here, then S. Okay, we just organize it. So like edit is here. We are returning a JSON of we are returning a JSON of the global, a variable, which is the result that has been assigned to a string containing the first name, middle name, and last name. So when we come back to our JavaScript, we want now to get the result as usual, because the result contains double quotes. We'll do a replace dot replace. Then we do a regular expression to replace all double quotes with single quotes in the result. Then we will do we create another variable called split result. Remember, our result will be containing commas, so we want to split by commas, then pass each part of the string to the fields. So we want to create a variable called split result, then is equals to result dot split Then we want to split by the comma. Then once we split, we now want to assign the first part of this string, fname. We want to assign fname to split result 0. That's the first part of the string. Remember, there are 3 parts of this string, as you can see here. Part 1 first name, part 2 middle name, and part 3 last name. So fname will be assigned to the first part of the string. Mname will be assigned to the second part. So the index starts from 0. That's why first part is being assigned to 0. Then second part 1 and third part 2, like that. So that is how it will be. Then we can go back here at the top. Now we want to display these edit and undo buttons. By default, we need to create them as hidden fields. So these ones remain hidden. These ones remain hidden, like that. There's no need of writing this, or there's no need of giving it an ID. So we can just leave it there like that. So by default, these two are hidden. So let us refresh and see if they will be visible. As you can see, they are not visible. But now, whenever we return a result or we get a result from PHP, we want now to display the hidden buttons and hide the visible button. Let me just return the IDs because they'll be important. So this one becomes btn edit, and this one becomes btn undo. So we can come back to our JavaScript code. Then at the top, we will create a variable btn submit equals to use document dot get element by id. Then the id is btn submit. The id is btn submit. Let us just confirm that it is btn submit. So we come here and it is in small letters like that. So that is btn submit. So we want to create elements for all the buttons. Btn edit, then btn delete, undo, btn undo. Then this one becomes btn undo, like that. So once we get our result from PHP via AJAX, we will now hide the btn submit button. So we just do dot style dot display equals to none. Then btn edit dot style dot display equals to block. Now this one hides, none hides, then block reveals it or shows it. Then this one becomes btn undo dot style dot display equals to block. So we can try it and see. Let us refresh. Edit. Are you sure you want to edit? Yes. So edit is not actually returning. Let us check what is happening. We can do an inspect element to see which error we are getting. Just check here and see. As you can see, data is not defined in post test JS line 81. They are saying data is not defined. It is true, we didn't create data variable here equals to edit form dot serialize. So let us just refresh here, then try to edit. Are you sure you want to edit? Yes. Still not showing, so we can still inspect the element and see which error we are getting. So as you can see, there is no error. That means we need to check our jQuery, not jQuery as such, our PHP. So we are sending our data to posttest.php. So let us just come to posttest.php and see what really is happening. So we are doing an if. First, before we do this, I want us to see if this one will display echo. Just want to echo something here, say yes, and see if it will display. Then within our JavaScript, we can echo the result. Not echo actually, but we can do an alert of the result and see what happens. So let us refresh. Then yes. So as you can see, we are getting an error unexpected while in posttest.php on line 39. So we can still go through and ensure that we have written it correctly. So we go back to post test, then saying line 39. Okay, no problem. Just go about it. So this is the first if. It is ending here. We create an else here. Then we check if main ID has been set. We will write here the edit code, or we can just write it now so that we can now complete. So here the main ID is not set because by default we will be saving, and when you save there will be no last ID set, that's main ID, because main ID is only set on editing. So let us create a code here which will run when main ID is set. So we will do this. So let this one just be here like this. So if it is set, then we will do this. We will create the variables. So let me just copy this and paste. Now when it comes to editing will have all the fields plus the ID. It will have all the fields plus the ID. So let's just call it ID. Then now this one will be passing the main ID here. So I just want to copy this because it is almost the same code with very minimal differences. So just want to copy this, then we will edit. So the first thing is for us to select, because even if we are editing, we are not supposed to edit and create a field that or a record that looks like an existing record. But in this case, the only thing we are going to add, we are going to select the first name, middle name, and last name. Then so select, we'll do select first name. No, this is just okay. So we select all from table where first name equals to F name and middle name equals to this, and the ID equals to, then we call the ID. Not equal, I mean, this one will be not equal to the ID. What does this mean? Remember, this ID here is already saved. We are looking for an ID that is saved because we are editing. We are editing an existing record. So if we search a record which has the same values as the one we have sent, but belonging to a different record, that means having a different ID, then it means we are trying to edit a record that already exists, or by editing we'll be creating a record that already exists. So that is why here we will create, or we will create a record exists alert and pass it to the global variable. Otherwise, we will now not insert, but we will update the table. Update test table, set first name equals to F name, comma, middle name equals to M name, comma, last name equals to L name, where ID equals to the ID that was passed here. So if now the result is success, here we will write updated and not success. We want to differentiate this from the posts, from the save action. So if it is successful, it becomes updated like that. Then we do an else here. Then we do an else. Okay, now let me take you through the code. So this first code runs when main ID is not set, and as I said, by default, when you do the first save, or when you are saving, main ID will not be set. So this is what does the original saving. Then else, if main ID is set, then which means it is now doing an edit. We have selected an ID from the record, then set the value of the main ID to it. So once it finds that the main ID is set, then it knows it has to edit, and this is the edit code that we run. Else, it will now check if rec edit is set. So if rec edit is set, then what happens is it will know that it has to fetch the record. That is once you click yes on the model, then it has to fetch this record and load it in the form. So it will only do this if rec edit is set. Then rec delete, if it is set, then it will update the table and set deleted to true, like that. So that is how the code will appear. So I want us to go back to JavaScript and make some few more settings. So on edit form, upon getting the value, we have to clear the value of rec edit. So that rec edit is not set. Rec edit, so that it doesn't find the value again and load the form. So the value will be set to empty, or we can just reset the edit form. Best is to reset the edit form 0.reset, like that. So once we load here, we clear the edit form. Another thing we are going to do, is this. Remember here in post test we said when main ID is set, then we do an edit. Once we get an edit, we will get an updated result. So we have to add this to our JavaScript. So we just add it to the submit form function. So else, just put here an else, then we can copy this and paste here. So this one is moved. So this one is now updated. So instead of saying record successfully saved, we say record successfully updated, and the rest remains as it is. So this one will come here. Oh, this one will come here. So we have to indent it a bit like that. So that is how it will be. So I want us to clear, once we request edit, I want us to clear the delete form. To reset the delete form once we request edit before we pass the model. Then once we request delete, we want us to clear the edit form. So that this is just to ensure that the IDs don't conflict. Remember, we're using the same ID, and we are looking at which value is set within PHP. So if we don't clear these values, that means there's a possibility of finding that edit is set when it's not, when we are doing a delete, or delete is set while we are doing an edit. So that's why we need to clear first. Whenever we are doing an edit, we clear delete. Then whenever we are doing a delete, we clear edit. So let us try to run our code and see. So try to edit. Are you sure you want to edit? Say yes. So we are getting here an error on line 58, post-test.php, line 58. Syntax error, unexpected while. Let us go to line 58 and correct it first in post-test.php before we can continue. Line 58. We needed to put here semicolon to close this line. So we can come back and refresh, then try to edit. So it is telling us syntax error, unexpected, that is dot, expecting variable t variable, or opening curly brace or dollar in line 58, line 60. So let us see where the problem is. So result equals to, this is where the issue is. It is supposed to be raw. So let us try to refresh again and see. Yes, now we can now close this. It is returning yes. Let us go back to our edit and see line 60. So global results, we are returning f name, m name, and l name. So let us go back to JavaScript. Go back to our JavaScript, post-test.js. Edit form dot on submit. So we want to, let us first see which result displays here. Then, as usual, after displaying, we will have to hide the model. So we have to hide the model. So that is what we are doing here. We will hide the model. So this one is mod edit, like that. So we can refresh here and try to, it is returning an empty string. Let us try to echo these. Let us try to echo this query. So let us just do an echo. of the SQL and see what it returns. So we are selecting all from test table where ID equals to post rec edit. So let us see what it returns. Still returning empty. Let us now check in the edit form. Let us check in the edit form and do an alert of the data that we are serializing. So that means it is not passing any data. Let us check the spellings. We called it edit form, then button, this is submit, which is okay. So this is edit form. When we serialize, there is no name. That is why there is no name for this. Remember, we have to pass the name. We need to pass the name for it to be able to be passed to PHP. So that is the sole reason why this thing is not working. So let us refresh and see. Are you sure you want to edit? Yes, still empty. Let's see here again. Alert data. So rec edit is now 1, but still we are getting empty. So we'll just check. Can come back to our PHP and see. Can do this. So we can do, if we set post main ID and we set post fname and is set post mname and is set post lname. So we want to see if all these are set. So if all these have values, main ID, fname, mname, and lname, then that means that is an edit. that means it is an edit. So that means we'll interchange this code. We'll interchange this code with whatever is up there. So we will interchange this code with whatever is up there. So we will just do this. Then we take this code here. Then we can copy this one here. So this one will work if all the fields have values. That means we perform an edit. Otherwise, if only these ones are set up to L name, then that means we will do a normal post. Then otherwise, if rec edit is set, we edit. Then if rec delete is set, we delete. So let us refresh and see. There is an error. Expected, that is on line 4. On line 4, let us check line 4. If we set post main ID, do we close? Yes, we closed here, which is not supposed to be the case. And here it is supposed to be like that. Yes, so let us try to do a refresh and see. So edit. See, there's an error on line 29. Unexpected opening brace on line 29. As if, oh yes, so on line 29, this is okay, but this one was supposed to be closed like that. So let us refresh, then try to edit. Still giving us blank. So this variable was misspelled. It is rec edit. That is why it is not actually working. So here it is set post rec edit. That's the correct spelling. So we can refresh, then try to do an edit. There is an error on line 52. On line 52 still, so we will go to line 52. So this one is rec edit. The correct one is rec edit. So we can do a refresh, then edit. Are you sure you want to edit? Yes. So as you can see, it is now showing. We can now click on yes to load. So as you can see, it's loading, but the buttons are not appearing. We need to do something. So we will go back to our JavaScript. We go back to our JavaScript, then we close this result. So these buttons are not appearing. We need to see why. One thing we can do is for us to check to inspect our code and see if there is any error. If there is no error, then it means we have to change some things here. So let us see first how we declared it. So it is btn submit. This is submit, not submit. Submit is equals to document.get element by id. Btn submit. Just confirm that the IDs are correct before we can continue. So this is btn submit, btn edit, and btn undo. So btn submit, btn edit, and btn undo. Can come back to our JavaScript and see. So btn, yeah, I think it is now okay. It was this one that was wrongly spelled up there. So we can proceed. Let us just refresh, then try to do an edit. Yes, still not showing. Try to do an edit. Yes, so let us see others. btn submit.style.display equals to none. Then btn edit.style.display equals to block. Then btn undo.style.display equals to block. So this one should now work. Let me just confirm the spellings again. It is btn. Oh, it's not bnt, it is btn. All these are btn like that. So we can refresh here, then try to load. Again, it is not showing. Okay, so we are going to do this. We are not going to use the hidden element here. Instead, we are going to create a CSS class here for the hidden element. So let us just write .hidden element. Then just write display none. Display none. Then we can add it here. We can add it to our buttons. So this one becomes a hidden element within the class hidden element, and this one also hidden element. So then try to refresh. Yeah, it is now working. So let us try to edit. As you can see, it is now showing us the edit and the undo edit buttons. But before we do this, I want us to create a code for undo edit. I want us to create a code for undo edit. So we go to JavaScript. As you can see here, under undo edit, we have a function, a JavaScript function on click. So we just write function undo edit. Then when we click on undo edit, we are just going to reset all the forms. So first we will reset the test form. We reset the test form. We will reset the edit form. Then we will reset the delete form, like that. Then apart from that, we will return the save button. We will display the save button. That is, we will display the save button. So now this changes to block because we want it to display, and these ones, because we want them to be hidden, we display none, like that. So we can try to refresh here and see. So if we want to edit this record, test this one, so you just click here, then select yes. As you can see, it is already loaded. So if we do undo edit, as you can see, it is clearing the form so that we can now post. So let us try to post a record that already exists and see my test app. So we are getting an unknown error occurred. Okay, so let us do this. I've seen. So after setting this ID, we do this. We will check if ID equals to empty. That means we will save. No, let us do this. If it is not equal to empty, then we will update. That is, then we can push this one inside. Else we can do another. So if it is empty, then it means we are going to save. If it is not empty, we update, because that means we have selected a record to update. That's how the ID was set. Then if it is empty, then it means we didn't select any record to update. So that means whatever we are going to do is to save. Then we can do away with this. Okay, so we can now comfortably save this one and continue with our code or with our application. So let's see how it will run. So we click on edit, select yes. There is an error again on line 26, which is unexpected else on line 26. Line 26. So we are getting this because we didn't close the if. So we can come back and refresh our page, then try to edit. Still there is another error, unexpected closing curly brace on line 73. On line 73 there is an unexpected closing curly brace. So this one is supposed to be this way. Just want to see where our code is supposed to close. Then this one comes here, this one comes here, this one comes here, and that is how we close our if statements. Then we can now refresh. Of course this one is going to work, so what we just need to do is to remove this alert from here. Then we can come back here and refresh, then try to edit. So as you can see, it is working. So let us call this my test apps, then try to edit and see. As you can see, it is telling us record successfully saved. It is supposed to show edited, not saved. Here I want us to come back and check the result that is returned. So alert results. So we can do a refresh here, then try to edit. Comes your test app. So it is telling us undefined variable global in posttest.php on line 25. Posttest.php on line 25. So we come back here, line 25. The global variable is undefined. How? Oh yes, so this global variable is supposed to be up here. I think I removed it mistakenly, and initially it is set to empty. So yeah, that is okay. So we can now come back to JavaScript and remove this alert, then save. Then we can try to do the edit. Instead of my, we change it to your. This is the first record, so let's see if it will change. Still unknown error occurred. Let's see which error. Let us return the alert and see which error is occurring. So return this to your. It is returning empty. So let's see why it is returning empty. Let us echo this SQL and see if it is running correctly. Can go back to our JavaScript. Yes, so we want to see if these queries are running correctly. Edit. I want to edit this one to your edit. Select all from first table, where first name equals to your, and middle name equals to test, and last name equals to app, and ID is not equal to 1. We need to check this one as well. Then we will do a refresh, then try to edit this. This one becomes your edit. So update test table, set first name equals to your, middle name equals to, I think this first name is not having the first single quote, so we can always check. F name is not having the first single quote, like that, so we can do that. Middle name is okay, last name is okay. So let us try to run this and see. Remove the alert, then we can now run. Edit, and this one becomes your, then successfully updated. As you can see, it is now running. This one has changed to your for my. So you can use the search function to find some items within your table. You can use the search function to find some items within your table. We can add another record, say test, another one, another one. Successfully saved. It has been added here. We can try to add the same. And see, record already exists, so it is working. So we can say other ones and save. It has successfully saved that. Then we can try to delete. Let us try to delete record number 7, my tested app. Are you sure you want to delete? Yes, a non-error occurred. I want to echo the string that is returned in JavaScript. So under rec delete, I will echo the result here. Not echo, but alert. Return the alert of the result. That. So I can come back here, then refresh. I want to get the exact error that is returned. Yes. So as you can see, an unidentified variable query in line 66 is an unidentified variable query in line 66. So this one is not supposed to be query, it's supposed to be SQL. So we have seen where the error is. We can come back here and clear this result. Now, then we can come here and refresh. Can refresh that. So we want to delete this record number 6, my test apps. Are you sure you want to delete? Yes. So record successfully deleted. As you can see, it is no longer appearing. If you want to delete record number 1, for example, your test app, delete, successfully deleted. It is no longer appearing. If you want to delete this is test, we can delete like that. So as you can see, it is deleting. Okay, so as you can see, our application is working very well. We are able to post, we are able to edit, we are able to delete just from the same window using AJAX. So if you like this video, please remember to hit the like button. Also, please share your comments, share the videos with your friends, and also ensure you subscribe for more videos. Please stay tuned to this channel and get more videos on coding and system development in general. Thank you.